pumped up after that, guys. Welcome to the Lowco Grind, presented by Reverence Wrestling Club, your weekly look at high school wrestling and other combat sports, theoretically, in the Lowcountry. But right now, I think we're all kind of one-track mind for wrestling, especially those of us joined here tonight. I'm Justin Jarrett, joined by the legendary George Dixon and Coach Rutherford from Battery Creek, frequent co-host on the show. George, we can hear you tonight, and you can hear us. It's good times. We'll start off with a little bit of an introduction of George Dixon, because we've referred to him frequently on this show. He's kind of like the glue of the Lowco wrestling community in many ways. Because Coach, I still call you Coach, because you're the assistant AD at McCracken. You've coached wrestling at Hilton Head High years ago. Then you went the ref route, which I think we're all grateful for, because there are a lot of nights where we're like, oh boy, but then there are nights where we show up and we're like, oh, George is here. It's gonna be a good night. So you've become kind of the dean of wrestling refs in this area, at least, if not beyond. And you're just kind of an old head for the sport and well connected. So introduce yourself a little bit more than I have just now, and tell us a little bit more about your journey in the sport and how you got where you are.
Well, going back a long time ago when Justin was a reporter, an old beat reporter for the Island Packet, and I was coaching at Hilton Head. We had some great. I know you loved me for my quotes back in the day, because I was. Well,
I didn't see. Now, hold on a second. I didn't get to cover you as a coach. By the time I got here, you were reffing.
I was gone,
and Holman and Newton were doing battle.
Well, lucky
Jeff
you.
Kidd, though. Kidd quoted
you.
Yeah,
there you go. Kidd was my guy back in the day, but let's go back a little further. I'll even throw it back a little further. I wrestled back when McCracken High School had a wrestling team, and they were only about 3 years old at that point in the late 70s. And then I graduated Hilton Head in 84, having wrestled there, and then stayed around with Coach Dave Martin, and I was an assistant coach for 2 years, working with Scott Moody and Joe Beck, a 3-timer and a 2-timer. Then went on to a JUCO career out in California, and then transferred to App State to finish up, and then came back to Hilton Head and was coaching there for 92 to 2000. Started the referee route and got very lucky. Got tied in with Dino White out of the Upstate. Dino was well connected, and he got me into senior nationals back in the day. It was not even high school nationals then. It was top 2 in each state getting to go to that tournament. Well, he got me in, and I did a decent enough job. They kept me around. Did finals for 15 years. Every year I was top 14 and got a final while there. I actually did my first nationals and got a final before South Carolina allowed me to referee the state tournament. So they said I needed a little more time under my belt as a referee. So they didn't let me call the state tournament that year. Anyway, but then I got in there and then moved up through the NHSCA, and now I'm the coordinator of officials for NHSCA for both the nationals and the duels, which we're working on that stuff now. Officials wise, we actually have a meeting tomorrow night, Zoom wise, with the NHSCA brass to go over the tournament at the beginning of April for high school nationals. South Carolina, I'm now the director of wrestling officials for South Carolina, and deal with all the officials in that regard. Plus, I'm the National Wrestling Hall of Fame chapter president for South Carolina. So that's me. And
I didn't want to overstate your resume, but I knew it was more impressive than the detail I had given. So I appreciate you filling in the cracks a little bit there. But Rutherford, you can speak to what I was talking about. That if George shows up, you're like, well, at least the guy knows the rules tonight.
Yeah, well, I call George probably once a week at least, checking to see where he's at, where if he's going to be with us. And we always ask him to come because, like you said, he knows the rules. He's fair to the kids. And we talked about this the other day. The kids like him because he's not afraid to, after the match, explain, hey, this is why I called you on that. And so, it's about getting the kids better. And that's why we love having George around, because George wants the kids better at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing, George. And I talked about that on here a few weeks back. But, that first weigh-in we did at McCracken, and it was just kind of a scrimmage type thing. But we did a weigh-in, and you really laid down the law and the ground rules and let them know what this is supposed to look like. Because, a lot of guys are going to be very by the book and strict, as they should be. And you don't want to get, caught unaware by that. But I love the approach that you bring to officiating, which is that you're like another coach out there. You're another mentor for the kids. You're at the end of the day, we're all there to teach them the best way to compete in the sport. And that's, we shouldn't be adversaries in doing that. We should be coordinating to do that. So, and as Coach Powell notes, you raised a pretty good young man as well. Your son has followed in your steps. And if Ty shows up, I feel just as confident that we've got somebody who has a good handle on things. So I guess elaborate on that a little bit, on seeing your son, going to the officiating route and following your steps. That has to fill you with pride.
Well, I can tell you I've been blessed. He's a great kid, as you guys both know. You've had interaction with him. And he was that kid that he wrestled up to high school, but he didn't want to go wrestle in high school. He was doing other things, and so his focus wasn't to be on the mat, but he loved the sport and didn't want to get away from it. So he decided he was going to referee with me. And he had been to the Super 32 and high school nationals, and he had done all those things alongside me. When I would go, he would go. And then he, got that opportunity in South Carolina. So he started paying his dues and taking the test. And the first year he took it, he got an 88, and that was with no help. I was like, okay, not too bad. But he's been around really high level officials for a long time. Stephen Curtis, who's a D1 official, and has called national D1s. Carlos Mansell, another South Carolina guy that has called the last couple of D1s, and Bob Whitaker out of Florida, who's a New Jersey Hall of Famer, and actually the state outstanding wrestler for the state tournament in Jersey is called the Bob Oakey Whitaker Award for him. His senior year, he went undefeated and unscored on that year, and so they named the award after him. So
that's
awesome. Very cool. And yeah, Ty has become a terrific ref as well. And I always enjoy when he shows up to the matches. Georgia, you said you were doing Georgia State duels this weekend?
Yes, sir. The last couple of days I was in at Jeff Davis High School down in Hazelhurst, Georgia.
Hazelhurst. I've been there for baseball.
Yeah. Out in the middle of nowhere.
It's a long haul to Hazelhurst.
Yeah, it's no straight way to get there. It's some twisty, turny country roads to get there. But the tournament went well. We had probably one of the best crews calling in the state last weekend. The guys that were there were all state level Georgia guys. One of them is also a South Carolina guy. He's out of the Augusta area, Nathan Myers. But he called the third place match. I got to call the finals. And, my backup, my assistant was Alan Giles, who was the head official for the tournament. But great tournament, good wrestling. Didn't have to throw anybody out. The coaches were all good and reasonable as far as that goes. And again, like you said, you're not going in there trying to be adversarial with them.
Right.
Let's try to, just follow the rules, get it right, and get on through. So,
yeah, man. What do you got coming up, officiating wise?
Well, I'll be seeing Coach Rutherford there on Wednesday night. We'll be over there doing that. I kind of wanted to do a throwback real quick. Over the holiday break, since I didn't get to talk with you early on, I actually got to go to Hawaii.
That's right.
And do the clinic over in Hawaii with Dino White. Again, throw him out there. But we got to go out. I was approached at the Super 32 several years ago about going out to do a clinic for their association, and it finally worked out this year that we got to go. So the wife went along, and Dino and his wife went along, and we got a day at the girls tournament where we evaluated the officials, and then the next day we were at a boys duels second day of the tournament, Moana Lua duels. And so I got on the mat and got to ref a couple of duels, including one of the semis. But Dino was on the side evaluating them, and then as I was working, he worked through. As I was doing stuff, he would say, "Okay, he's been doing this. Why? This is how you call stalling. This is what that why he held off on that takedown or whatever." As he's sitting there with them, and then on the last day, not the last day, but the next day, we did a clinic for the officials where we went over philosophies and why you do what you do. And in Hawaii, they have been very reluctant in using their assistants. They don't even allow them to throw up locked hands, when they're working on the mat. But we hopefully have gotten them past that. We part of my presentation, PowerPoint, and then a video presentation, it showed our guys at the South Carolina tournament working in conjunction with one another with assistants, and that actually hit them real hard. And so for the hour after the clinic was done, that was a big part of what they talked about with me, was how that sort of helped them to want to try to get their assistants more involved. But but following up anyway, this week I'll be seeing Coach Rutherford, Battery Creek, and their region stuff for the duels on Wednesday night. So.
Yeah, man, that'd be fun. I did want to go a little more inside baseball on officiating, because you talked about the kind of the prestige of getting to work a final. And I know it's the same thing, for baseball umpires. Like if you get to work the championship game is some level of prestige or whatever. So take us a little bit more inside that and how that's determined and what kind of pride you take in getting assigned to the finals.
Well, with Georgia, the director of wrestling for the Georgia High School Association is the guy that picks the officials. Each association, they have to send in names for their association of guys that are quality enough to officiate that level of tournament. And then each association president gets to rank those people on their on a sheet, and then email, and then they send it back to Georgia High School, where they then tally those up, and then the director will go through and pick the officials for the state tournament. South Carolina wise, we as the director, that's actually part of my job, evaluating officials, but we actually have a conference call, Zoom call, next Sunday night, where we will pick the dual tournament officials, a head and an assist. The assist is normally a new guy or a newer official. And then the state tournament individual officials will be picked, and then 3 alternates will also be picked for that, for the state tournament. But as far as an honor, it's an absolute honor to be able to call the state tournament. But then the head official having picked me to do that for them. So I enjoyed it. It's a good time. The pressure's there. With you want to get the calls right. But for me, I always try to get the calls right. I don't want to mess up. No official is trying to go out there and miss a call. We had a couple of not injuries, but illegal holds that led to recovery time, and kids couldn't continue this weekend on calls on my mat. One, the kid was just trying to return him, and he had a single leg, and he was trying to throw the half in and fish it in as he was returning the kid to the mat, and he kind of lawn darted the kid right on his head as he was bringing him back down. And I'm immediately threw up the illegal for the slam. And the parent of the kid, the dad, was, you got to throw him out. He did that on purpose. He tried to hurt my kid. And, sorry, it's just wrestling. Kids get hurt. And then the other kid that got hurt was an illegal cutback. And, he jumped up and cut the leg, and the kid twisted his ankle really bad. So before that kid even hit the ground or hit the mat, I was already throwing that one up because I saw it coming. Unable to stop it. Yeah. So, but those kind of things happen. It's wrestling. It's a tough sport. But to be there and have the ability to be there, the health to be there, luckily the experience and knowledge to be there. But to get picked to do it, and then to actually get to call the final, and then coaches afterwards, as you said, Rutherford's always happy to see me there, and Powell and those guys, and to have the coaches in the state finals afterwards come up and tell you good job. That's that kind of hits home. So
amen. You teased the Region and 8-3A duels over at Rutherford's, the Palace at Possum Hill. But tell us more about that, Coach. Well, I guess first of all, you guys avenged a loss this week. You lost a tight one to JP2 last weekend at the Bobcat duels, and you hammered them this week. A little vengeful victory at home. But how are the Dolphins looking going into these region duels?
Yeah, it was kind of an exclamation point on our year. We knew that it was senior night. It was going to be our last match that didn't matter. But I kind of told the kids, act like this is regions. Nothing against John Paul 2, but they just happen to be on our schedule. I love John Paul 2 because they're well coached. Bill Demude kind of helped build that program, and now Greg's taking it over. But they're a well coached team. They wrestle hard, so we kind of came in with a little bit of fire under our bellies. I also told the guys that if we didn't win, we had practice on Saturday, so that always makes them a little bit more amped to do it. But yeah, so we're going right into our region tournament this week. Our region does it a little different. We wrestle all of our region duels on one day. It started back in COVID, so that way if one of us got sick, we all got sick kind of deal, where if we're going to miss it, we're going to miss it together. So it's worked out pretty well. It's a tough night of wrestling. Our region's tough with Buford, Hanahan, Phillips Simmons, and North Charleston. Everybody wrestles each other. I know North Charleston will probably have a smaller lineup. They usually do. I've seen Phillips Simmons and Hanahan around the year, so I don't know exactly. They're both tough teams. You don't know what they're going to bring. And then you've got Buford that we've wrestled them twice this year, and both matches have come down to a couple of guys here and there, so it's going to always be fun. So we'll have 2 mats set up in the Palace and wrestle our hearts out.
Yeah, baby. Gonna be good times.
Yeah, it looks good.
I guess you guys are like sort of the favorite, but like it's really narrow margins.
Yeah. So last year we tied with Buford, and then we lost to Hanahan by 3. Coming in this year, ranking wise, you put a little stock in it, but not too much. But it looks like it's us, Buford, Hanahan, Phillips Simmons, all within like 4 or 5 spots of each other. So we come in as the favorite because we beat Buford, but like it happened state tournament, whoever shows up ready to wrestle is ready to go. And injury.
Well, yeah, and like who gets the flip and who gets cute bumping somebody they shouldn't, and there's a lot of variation in there, a lot more than the layman probably realizes. You can put it in a spreadsheet and be like, well, we should win by 12, but it doesn't work like that when you actually go and send them out there.
It was funny this Wednesday. That's why me and George were out on the mat, and I walked away right before the coin flip because I had to double check our notes. I told the guys,
wait, am I supposed to pick odd or even?
Well, yeah, and so it was one of those where I'm trying to get. Normally, I tell we want to be odd because we're number 1, but I was like, you know what? Let's pick one out and kind of see. So the guys know and try to train the kids to, hey, we have to send first. So don't just run out. Let me, we can kind of look and see what the other team's going to send, and we'll bump people around. So that was kind of the focus on Wednesday, especially with John Paul having a pretty full lineup. There wasn't a lot of – it was trying to get good matchups for our guys and get good matches. So Yeah, it was funny. I walked away and George gave me that look. And I was like, hold on, there's a thought somewhere in here.
Yeah. No,
And
1 second, please.
I try to stop them. I don't want them to come out.
Yeah.
Because, if you're playing your strategy game, okay, green, it's your choice. You send, bring your person out and I'll hold red back. No, don't come yet. I want to make sure we have the proper check-in with the proper wrestler. So we don't have those headaches, a little further into it.
Well,
we're trying to train them at the middle school level, because I tell you what, we're gonna have a few different strategies in play Thursday for the region duels. We're gonna have some weight flexibility if everybody's eligible. It's gonna be fun.
Right.
That's
everybody's where they're supposed to be. Yeah, middle school region duels are gonna be fun. It's gonna be a blast. I'm looking forward to it. But no, what were you saying? Sorry, Rutherford.
Well, no, I was laughing because earlier George was talking about going to Hawaii. One of the guy who got me into coaching actually ran into George at Hawaii, and so it's funny because I see Danny Krotz's name. He was coaching at Newberry, and my brother was working or wrestling for his club team, and so I happened to go to a practice. He's like, "Look, I need a young coach to help out," and I kind of slid in there with him, and so that's who got me into coaching. And so then I see out of nowhere that he's on his way to Hawaii, and then I see George posted he's on Hawaii, and I reached out to Danny. I was like, "Are you going with George?" And he goes, "No, but if I run into him," and they ended up running into each other. So what a small world!
Small world. The wrestling
is a small one, no doubt.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit more about some results from this past week. May River, of course, wrapping up pretty much. I mean, they haven't totally wrapped it up. They still got to beat Bluffton, but they pretty much wrapped up the region title because they beat Beckham and Colleton and James Island and everybody. So I think they just have Bluffton left, right? Bluffton, though, knocking off Lucy Beckham. That was a solid win for them. And Hilton Head also got Beckham. So everybody's is going to the playoffs out of those three. That's exciting. But man, May River, gosh, Powell just keeps reloading over there. And then he had a JV state champ too, a freshman, Leandro Laranega, 150. So, and then the other girl, Vivian Ariola, who was a sectional champ in JV, she didn't go to the state tournament because we have girls next week, and she was at Tulsa Nationals, along with Houston, Rudisill, and Tommy Perez, and Layla, whose last name escapes me, but Layla made the finals. So let me tell you about that.
I believe she took third.
Layla, Hustelis, I guess it is. I think she got second. She was in the finals and lost. And then nobody else placed, but they all had good runs. Like Vivian, nobody went winless. They all had good runs. Rudisill had a real good run through the backside. He lost his first one, but then he won 1, 2, 3, 4. He won 4 before he lost again. Oh, is it a true second? Gearhart says. Bluffton and Hilton Head Wednesday, huge matches. All right, we're getting good at interactivity.
That's gonna be
if it's true second, then I haven't seen her result in the second and third match. It didn't come through on my notifications, but nonetheless, very cool for Reverence to take kids out to Tulsa and to Fargo and all these places that they've been taking people. And I know that Estrada's group took some to a national tournament somewhere as well this weekend.
I think they were in PA, somewhere from PA. Michaela Hinchy, she wrestled up there.
Yeah, Michaela was wrestling up to like the 20U, and she's 13.
Yeah.
She's a stud. She's awesome. Really cool kid too. So yeah, I saw we had kids from the Lowco having success all over the place. I haven't seen the results from PA. Did you see any details from there?
I just saw that she was up there wrestling, Facebook wise through her mom, but I don't know.
Michaela and Zayo and a couple other girls. Pal said, they got Bluffton and Hilton Head on Wednesday, and Pal says, "Good luck, Rutherford. Take care of business."
Yeah, well, we know Pal and the boys are going to take care of business. I that's a tough one with Nutter too. I mean, that's two very strong programs. So
Yeah,
that's
man.
going to be, I would say if you're not going to be at Creek, you better be there, but you should be at Creek.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what we've been building up for, for these years. I mean, my drive has been, I want Beaufort County to be the toughest county for wrestling in the state. So I would love to see Beaufort, Battery Creek, Hilton Head, Bluffton, May River. I want to see them all in the playoffs. I want everybody to be successful. I'm not counting out Whale Branch or Bridges, but Bridges is coming. Bridges is coming. And Whale Branch, they have good numbers this year. So
Whale Branch is coming up.
Yeah. So I want everybody to be, again, I want our county to be the baddest thing going for wrestling. So
absolutely. Well,
I think we're all united in that.
With Newton doing that middle school tournament and JV and varsity and girls, I think that's, I come from Spartanburg County where that was the biggest tournament of the year because it was the week before region. So that was kind of like that tournament that was your last tune-up before the playoffs. So the way Newton did it right before Christmas break, I think that's only going to get us better and more competitive. And when you've got kids that, final matches are 3-2, 5-6, you're not seeing a lot of pins in the finals. That means you're getting a lot better. So I think that's just the way that the county's going, and that's the way it's going to be, hopefully.
Well, we just need to get you guys some kind of good club on the north side of the Broad. I mean, we got to get you guys.
We're working on it. So, we, the old Lowco Club, out of Creek, we're trying to revive some stuff over there and try to get at least a club. I know there's places like the Foundry that are looking to host it. We're going to try to hope to do possibly something where maybe a night at Beaufort, a night at Creek, a night at Bridges, and kind of rotate around and try to get kids so they have a little bit of a home match and then it's not too far because we love Reverence, but it does get tough sometimes on a weeknight to get to Reverence and back. So hopefully we can get something rolling and try to combine on occasion.
There we go. Well, speaking of Reverence, let's shout out some sponsors. Reverence Wrestling Club is the presenting sponsor of the Lowco Grind, and they're one of our varsity sponsors as well, supporting our coverage of local sports year-round. We appreciate everything they're doing over there. Shout out to Blake and the crew at Reverence Wrestling Club. And our MVP sponsors start with Megan Jarrett, the official realtor of Lowco Sports, and my wife. We love Megan Jarrett. She's She made this thing happen. She said, yeah, I think that's a good idea, instead of shooting it down. So here we are all these years later. So if you're looking to buy a home in the Lowco, call on my wife, Megan Jarrett, the official realtor of Lowco Sports with the Anchor home group of Keller Williams of the Lowcountry. Homegrown home inspections, my friend Jan Lucas and his team. Jan wrestled at Ohio State. Fun fact for a spell. He owns Homegrown Home Inspections, best home inspectors in the area. And when we find that home for you, we're going to make sure he looks it over and makes sure it's a great investment in the local real estate market. And then the Mickelson Law Firm, our original sponsors since 2017. Ryan and Tiffany still with us, and they can help you with all your legal needs. They're the official real estate closing attorneys of Lowco Sports. And Hospice Care of the Lowcountry, providing hospice care, palliative care, free grief counseling, and more services to our community. Nonprofit, great place, and I love their CEO, great friend of mine, James Disman. So check out Hospice Care of the Lowcountry, our MVP sponsors. Fellas, a couple other results. You mentioned Bridges on the come up. They had a good showing at the Bamberg dual tournament. Sounds like they had a kind of a rough draw as far as getting to the finals, because they felt like they were, maybe the second best team there. But them and Bamberg is going to be a good duel at the region duels. And then Hagen said, watch out for Whale Branch, man. He said they got more kids every time they see them. And they have tough kids out there. They're just competitive and know how, kids that are playing other sports out there they have the right mindset. So I think they're going to be dangerous in 1A, 2A. But no, Bridges, that program, they're coming, man. I love those guys. Hagen does a great job. Coop is great. And Dan, and we tried to get Coop and Dan on the show tonight, and they weren't available, but we'll get them on another time. But really good things happening with that program.
Yeah, they're exciting to watch. If you haven't seen Bridges go, you need to go watch them. in the last couple of years, Chavez is one heck of a kid.
Jerry,
pretty good wrestler behind it too. I mean,
yeah,
going into the tournament last year, I think he was an 8 seed and beat the number 1 seed in the first round. So
yeah,
you can't count Bridges out. And Whale Branch, man, that's a program that almost has a full lineup now. And they had 3 or 4 guys last year all together, and now they've got a full lineup with girls mixed in and everything. So
yeah, it's very cool. I'm excited to see how their girls do at the state tournament next week, because the girls don't get a lot of opportunities to compete against girls in this state yet. There's more and more, but over the course of the season, they just get a handful of matches against other girls. So I'm excited to see, what it looks like when they get to do that. That'll be fun. I think girls wrestling is awesome. Like I was, as an old school wrestling guy, I was kind of like, ooh, like, whoa, I don't know at first years ago, but man, I'm all in on it now, and seeing my nieces become wrestlers has been awesome. I mean, I got one who's going to go wrestle in college at Baker in Kansas, and then the other one is wrestling now in high school, and she actually was concussed the other night. So we're hoping that she has a quick recovery from that. Because as we know, it can be a dangerous sport. But man, I love watching the girls go. Especially love it when the girls beat the guys. And you see it in middle school a good bit, because there's some little hammers out there, those little girls in the lower weights. But I'm sure, Charlie says 11 girls going to state tournament for Whale Branch. That's amazing. Just amazing. That's so great. Brother, you got a few girls over there, right?
Yeah, we're sending 2 this weekend.
Okay.
One's a senior who's been with us. Both of them have been with us for 2 years. So I'm just pumped that we're having this. I think it's something we needed. Last year, I don't know, George, what was it, over 200 girls signed up to wrestle. So this year, I'm glad we're doing it. That way they get that feel too of, top 8 get to go and put some pride on that. But we're sending 2 down, Emily and Ginger, who have been both a little bit in our lineup. Yeah. We bumped them in here and there and got them some matches where we can. So it's exciting to see, because it looks like almost everybody in the Lowco now pretty much has girls on varsity. Yeah. Maybe not starting, but pretty much everybody's seeing some girls this weekend, which is awesome too.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely need the girls. I mean, they're helping our sport tremendously to stay relative and to stay alive. One of the things I always, they're girls wrestling. Look, guys, if it wasn't for the girls right now, our numbers would be dropping. We're getting more exposure because of them. And people always, why do you call stalling so much? Well, I call stalling because you aren't wrestling. You're not trying to score. And
because it's boring. That's why.
It's boring. Our sport's dying. Our sport's not in a good place for the most part. And we can't get people in the stands. Well, why can't we? Because you guys get out there and you don't do anything. You're not active. When the girls are wrestling, they get after it. Little kids, when they're wrestling, middle school kids, they get after it. High school kids, college, they're starting to slow down. They're being way too defensive and, trying to not mess up. Well, when you're killing us because you are messing up by not wrestling. And it drives me batty, but we have to do more to make that.
Nothing fun happens when you're not trying to not mess up.
I hate to be that guy, but as someone who George hit at the state tournament for stalling, I think we can stall a little bit sometimes.
No, don't get me wrong. I had a kid that wrestled for me at the state tournament. He had probably the toughest state tournament bracket that year at 152. He had 3 returning state champs. And he was the only non-returning state champ in the semis. And he beat a state champ by stalling to get in. But if you got a 4-2 lead, and you got one to give, I get it late in the match. Yeah. But to stall the entire freaking match, we don't need that. But you got 4-2, 3-2 lead. You got no stall warnings against you. You got one to give. Yeah, you give that warning. I definitely, there is a place in certain parts of the matches that
Sure.
you can stall and it's worthwhile and it's strategic.
Yeah.
But the entire freaking match, you're not doing anything. No, that's not a good thing.
And that's why I like popping them early, because then there's some urgency to it. It's like now, well, you don't want to start giving away points. So, once you got that warning, you're going to start wrestling. And so I like the way you are kind of quick with the first one. I also think too many guys, I don't want to call it this early. And then, I didn't call it on him earlier, so now I can't call it on him. And now you've like backed yourself into a corner where it's the third period. They both stalled the whole match, and you haven't warned either one of them. So you can't take control of the match now. So that's I'm with you. I like the quick call.
Well, and you guys know me. I mean, I wrote a paper on stalling. I have a Google Doc on stalling, and it's been handed out in Georgia, South Carolina, Minnesota, Texas, now in Hawaii. And this thing is all over the place. But
George Dixon's stalling manifesto.
The doctor of stalling right there.
No doubt. I mean, a doctorate in stalling. And I try to do my best to, obviously coaches want you to be consistent. Well, okay, I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to call it early and I'm going to call it often. It's like a telethon. I call early, I call often. And, but if you do that, they actually wrestle because they know. But all the coaches down here, they all know how I call. They understand that if George is on the whistle and, you better wrestle because he's going to pop you if you don't. So,
Well, and I like it because that's how we try to teach them to wrestle too. Like, we're saying the same things over there. We're like, circle, shoot, like we want them to wrestle too. We don't want them to just hang on each other. Again, for me, it's you're reinforcing what we're trying to coach. We're trying to coach them to wrestle the right way. You're reinforcing what we're teaching. What I don't like is when you get an official across any sport, not just wrestling, who is calling it counter to how you're trying to teach him. Like I liken it to baseball. Like, please call the low strikes and not the high strikes, because we're trying to teach them to throw it down there and not up here. And we're trying to teach them to not swing at this one. So please reinforce what we're trying to teach with your strike zone. Same thing goes for wrestling. And I think when you make them do it the right way, that reinforces what we're trying to teach. So I appreciate that. Powell gave you shouts, by the way, very consistent. We know how he calls. So I agree completely. And we'll tell the kids too, like, hey, you better not mess around. He's going to pop you. And they know that, and everybody knows it going in, and that's what all you can
and that's the good thing. And if as a former coach, that drove me batty because our kids were in better shape, and wrestling, a lot of it is about being in better shape. And, by the time you get to the third period, if you've got your opponent tired, they're starting to avoid, they're starting to clam up to not get scored on because they're tired. So I also know your strategy because it's, you got a 6-point lead and you're trying to get that, major. Well, if the kid's stalling, that's not helping your cause because he's just avoiding being scored on by your wrestler. So I want that kid to have to open up or at least put himself out there. So if your kid is getting after it, he's going to be rewarded for that. Right. The other side of that is if your kid's down by 6 and the other guy's trying to get that point or the 2 points he needs or she needs, then I'm not going to let you
just
not wrestle.
Hips and ankles.
Exactly. I'm not. I don't want to. Right. I know the strategies. I've been there. I understand. You're trying to get the major. You're trying to get a tech. Whatever it may be. And I don't like that. If you're going to shut down just to try to keep this kid from getting a major or a tech. So.
Well, and as a coach too, I mean, we appreciate when the ref's consistent. I mean, as a coach, I can tell my guys before the match, if you put your butt out of the line, George is going to hit you. We've known this before. Coach Dixon's warned us before. He does it every time during the speech. The hard part is when you get a rep that's not.
And remember, the first tiebreaker is match misconduct.
Hey,
Yeah.
I know that one.
So,
You know,
and that helps you sometimes, when that coach gets it hit for unsportsmanlike conduct. Yeah, well, oops, you might have just cost yourself the match, coach. So
I learned from a long time ago that I don't need to be the loudest in the room. I just got to be right. And so, normally I'm not the yeller. That's what I got my assistant coaches for. But there's been some coaches, and that's why we also love good officiating, because some coaches can take advantage of the system too. And that's one thing that's been nice, at least in our area, is that you don't see that as much. Just because they're louder doesn't mean they get the call. Whereas, we've been to some tournaments, and I'm sure, Justin, you've seen it, where just because that guy's loud in the corner, he's going to get a call. And that's what I've loved.
He makes calls. Yeah, when he talks them into calls over there.
Well, and that's what I like now, especially with wrestling. You bring it to a table, and that way it gets quiet. You have just the coaches and the referee. And George said before, hey, while we're here, just letting you know, and, give them a preference or warning. Just as coaches, we need help sometimes too. Sometimes we forget that, we get heated in the moment. And so that's what I've loved about the referees, at least in our area for a while now, is that, hey, here's your line. You're about to cross it. And usually, at least in our area, our coaches tend to back off the line a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm not going out there trying to penalize. I want you, as a coach, you have that prerogative to come to the table. You get to talk about it, discuss what you need to discuss, and I tell you my pre-meet, coach, if you have a question for me, I'll meet you at the table. More than happy to talk to you over there, and we'll do what we can to get it right. We make mistakes. It happens. I had one the other night at Battery Creek. Against a JP2 kid. I saw it, my brain processed it, and it processed it incorrectly. And I made the wrong call on an illegal hold. And after the match, I caught the kid, and John saw me, Rutherford saw me over there, and I was talking to the kid, and he's like, oh, okay. It's like, dude, I missed it. It wasn't illegal. Just to let you know, I owned it. I missed the call. And so, you were actually good with what you were doing. Don't change that. I screwed up, not you.
Yeah. Awesome.
And
that's all you can ask.
I was like, man, that was gnarly. And I was like, if you didn't call it on that, I think you would have had him. He goes, I had it, coach. I said, well, hit it next week and you'll be placing at state. So, I mean, that's just the thing that we got to do is keep the kids wrestling. I mean, that's the biggest part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome though, that you went out of your way to let him know, because you could have let him go on thinking that something that's legal, if it was illegal, or I mean, there's a lot of different outcomes you could have had there, but no, it happens. It's a hard thing to do in any sport. It's happening fast. There's a lot of judgment calls involved, and all we ask as coaches and competitors, I think, is that A, you know the rules, and B, you are consistent in interpreting them, and C, that you recognize you're humble, that you recognize you're not infallible, and you approach it with an even head, and you do all those things, as well as anyone I've ever come across. So appreciate you for that. Let's shout out some more sponsors, fellas. Got to give them the love. The varsity sponsors of Lowco Sports this season: DDS Web Design. They build, host, and maintain websites that get results. So if you have a business or nonprofit that is not getting found online, call on DDS at ddshhi.com for all your website needs. Parker Law Group, supporting your legal needs across Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper counties for years, and supporting us in our mission to continue to expand our coverage of Lowco sports, including those counties and all the student athletes and teams doing big things across the Lowco. And Reverence Wrestling Club, the presenting sponsor of the Lowco Grind. Here we are talking wrestling in the Lowco. Been awesome to see the support for the show and just the continued growth of the wrestling community here. Looking ahead, let's see. What else we want to talk about, fellas? JV middle school qualifiers. Not a ton of placers from our area, although Yeah. Oh, we just got a note. About yeah. Oh, there were 9 kids from the Sons of Thunder, Daughters of Zion, who went to the American Open. So we'll definitely find the results from that and report on that next week's show. But where was I at? Oh yeah, middle school JV qualifiers.
Yeah.
My God, I got lost there. It was tough, man. It was really tough competition this weekend. As we've talked about before, only 16 kids statewide make it in both these levels, and there's no classification, so it's tough sledding to get in there. But on the JV side, we had 2 placers. Leandro Laranega, who we mentioned from May River, 150-pound champ. He's just a freshman, so you can slot him into Pal's lineup next year and for a couple more after that. And Hayden Crockett, 285 from Hilton Head, was 3rd. So that's good news for them. Middle school, my guy, Andrew Lawson from McCracken, runner-up at 96 pounds, and Henry Santis from Bluffton Middle, love that kid too, 4th at 158. So I had a bunch of kids down there though, or up there. And man, that gym at Lexington is awesome for wrestling. It's so nice.
I believe my junior year we had states there, like varsity states. It used to be before we got to Anderson. It was usually whoever 5A team wanted to, or 4A team at the time would bid on it. Because I know my senior year was at Rock Hill. So that's a sweet setup. The little dome.
I remember covering a 4A state at airport one year.
Yeah.
That was not a great setup.
Well, and if you've been to our state, it's not the best setup for us either. We've sadly, in a good way, we've outgrown that Anderson Civic Center. So hopefully, I believe this is the last year, but they say that for the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, supposedly, it's the last one on that year of the contract. But that doesn't mean they won't renegotiate, that contract.
Yeah, that middle school JV tournament though, it was 4-2 this year, right? And then 1 in their wrestling room. So you had people all over the place, and it always gets running smooth. Tommy Bell and his crew always get that tournament rolling pretty nicely. So it's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's gotten better and better. Certainly,
didn't they run a split this year as well?
What do you mean?
They ran a split, a morning and an afternoon.
Yeah, they started middle school early. And JV didn't wait until 11.
Yeah, they wrestled the middle school straight through, and then the JV straight through. I understand why they did it. Like, I understand the idea of like only having half the people in the gym and half the buses there and all that stuff. But I will say it ran too fast. Like it ran so smoothly that when we got down to, the last couple of rounds of consies, it was like guys were just finished their match and 5 minutes later they were up again and we had to take breaks. So, it was like well-designed, a great plan, but it actually ran so fast that they actually had too many mats going at one point. And they forgot to hold the finals. That happens. The thing just keeps spitting out bout sheets, and then you realize you've wrestled 3 finals and you were supposed to hold them. We almost did that at Lowco. I caught the 80-pound final for middle school going on, and I was like, hold on, this is supposed to be in the other gym. But yeah, our guy Lawson wrestled the 96-pound final, and then like 10 minutes later they made an announcement about all finals will be wrestled on 1 mat at the conclusion. And I was like, I think that ship sailed. But no, we were out of there. They started wrestling at 9 and we were out of there by like 1:32 for middle school. Like it was smooth sailing. But yeah, it would be a long day though for people who coach both. I don't know how many of those there are, but if you coach both middle school and high school, that would be for a long day. Did you guys have anybody at JV?
We didn't have any JV. We had just the 2 middle schoolers. We had probably 2 kids we probably should have sent down to JV. We brought them up to varsity. We had the 2 middle schoolers, the
Schuler and Martinez.
Yeah, and they both have been wrestling pretty well. They both.
Yeah, I was surprised Schuler went 0-2. He's a dog. He told me after though that he's winning the whole thing next year. So congratulations on your 4-time state champ that's coming in next year.
He talks. He told Gunner, "Don't get comfortable being the stud because it's his next year." And Gunner said, "Well, I graduate," and he said, "Well, I need you to write down all your records so when I beat them, I can call you." Which is
my man Schuler. My man Schuler just oozes confidence. They all do, man.
They come in.
They got some swag. Martinez comes in his white beater.
He told me, he goes, "This is my muscle shirt, coach." I said, "Well, you got to find some muscles first."
Well, Perez is the one you got to look out for now. Perez, his swag kind of outgrowing his skill right now. He needs to pump the brakes a little bit, and get his third period endurance down before he got pinned by a girl last week. I asked him if I told him not to go to the third period with that girl. I was like, dude, I seen you in the third period. If you get to the third period with her, she's gonna put you on your back and pin you, and she sure did. Plus, I know that girl's twin brothers who were pole vaulters at USCB, and they were psychos. So I know that girl's got some dog in her.
That's awesome.
But luckily, Truman he pinned her quick. He didn't mess around. He threw in a. He was like, I saw her pin Perez in the third period. I went head and arm right off the whistle. I was getting that over with.
I went big bad. I went all in.
Yeah, he was not messing around with that. But no, you got some good kids coming from Robert Smalls. I love Rob and Binky. You got Binky coming too. Although
Binky cracks me up.
He may need to cut a little weight to make 285 next year.
Well, his brother was a state placer for us back.
I know.
Back in the
day,
and
like a valedictorian or something, right?
Yeah, and so we're hoping he grows a little taller. His brother was almost 6 foot when he graduated, so hopefully he hits that growth spurt. I know he's a football player, and I think he does track too. So,
oh yeah,
I
asked him if Susie was excited about him, and he goes, "Oh yeah, he's excited for me."
Susie's pumped. It's funny because Sam DeGroat's down at the middle school, so he'll text me all the time. He's like, "This kid's coming, this kid's coming," and so when they walk in the room, like, so Coach DeGroat, like, well, that's Coach Sam. I'm like, all right, Coach Sam. What did Coach Sam say? He says, I'm going to be better than Gunner. And Gunner goes, my brother didn't say that.
Who said that? Schuler?
Yeah. Oh, Schuler cracks me up, man. He's got so much confidence and
so much.
He might be one of the most coachable kids I've seen at such a young age. He's quick that as soon as the match is over, he's coming talking to coach. He's grabbing an older guy. Anytime, Gunner, we try to get the high school guys to go watch the middle school as much as possible. As soon as he's done, what do you see, coach? What do you see? What can I do? I mean, they really want to get better. And I think that's a testament to Rob and what he's done at that program over there.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love that dude.
Yeah, he's great.
Finally got his number so I can, text him random thoughts.
Yeah. I got a call from old Chad Cox the other day. You never like when he calls you. I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble. And he was looking for Rob. So he was trying to
get a scouting report on somebody, probably.
No, the bus was late. He thought Robert Smalls was just skipping out on the match. So
oh no, Robert Smalls is always late. That's just a given.
That's our MO. Fashionably
come rolling in.
If you got something you're good at, I guess you kind of stick with it, So.
But no, I got to give Binky a shout out because my man hooked me up with a PB&J in my moment of need at Somerville last weekend.
He's the pro.
He's always got a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, and some jelly, and he's got a little honey too because he likes a little honey on his.
Oh yeah,
he just gave me a honey stick Saturday. He just walked up to me and handed me a stick of honey. I was like, all right, love that kid.
Bullware just messaged me saying they took 8 people to the PA tournament, all 8 medals. So,
nice.
Sounds like they had a pretty good turnout then. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, we'll track down those results and round that up next week on the grind for sure. We'll see if maybe we can get a guest from the Daughters of Zion, Sons of Thunder, or whatever they're called, rank. Yeah, it's a cool name. You gotta hand it to them. But anyway, we'll get more of a report on everything that went down up in Erie, PA, which coincidentally always makes me think of what movie do you think of with Erie, PA? Anyone? Thing you
I
do.
don't know. No, not Hasselrig. Hasselrig was a Pitt Johnstown.
That thing you do. That thing you do. The Oneaters, the Wonders. They were from Erie, PA. Yeah.
A little
Okay.
before my time. You old heads over
Random-
there. That was
Random.
like
What? The Wonders? The Oneaters? No, that thing you do came out in the 90s.
Oh.
Came out in the 90s. Great movie. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, it is worth your time. Steve Zahn, terrific. But yeah, it was a good one. But anyway, looking ahead to this week, guys, we got the Region 8 3A duels at your place. What time does it start over there, Rutherford?
Weigh-ins 5, wrestle at 6.
All right, wrestling starts at 6. That's Wednesday night. I'll have USCB basketball that night. Dang it, won't get to go.
Send Wes. He loves basketball.
Well, he's got. Well, I'm the play-by-play broadcaster, so
I think if I'm right, Buford's own will be there recording, so maybe we'll get some streaming. And
I think that's right. And my guy Gearhart said he was down for doing some commentary, so maybe
hopefully we do.
We'll see if we can make his debut.
Playoff. Yeah, hopefully we can.
What's it?
If we win, hopefully we'll host some playoffs, and then maybe we'll get y'all there on a Saturday to do some mat side commentary.
Heck yeah! Well, Gearhart would be great. He's hardcore. He loves it, man. I love that guy. By the way, I've really enjoyed coaching with him.
He's got good energy. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Big time. He was born to be a coach. He loves it. He loves it. But and then what we got? Girls State on Saturday.
That's South Lawrence.
Yeah, I think South Lawrence.
Yeah, I think Wayne's are 7:30, wrestling at 9.
All right.
And then
that sounds right. Yeah.
And then I know Hilton Head or Bluffton Bay River this week too.
Right, on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, and then I also think it's Bridges and Bamberg Thursday, maybe. But that might be at Bamberg.
Yeah, well, isn't it a region duels situation like you guys have?
Yeah, but I don't know how many they have because I feel like Bridges has wrestled Whale Branch like 9 times this year.
Oh, right. They've done that just at home, I think. Yeah.
No, I think they have a like a thing like yours, though. Hagen said the other night where they just have one site and they do the whole thing. So I don't know. We'll see. But that was my understanding from the other night. So all these other matches don't really matter because they have their region duels where they bang them all out. And I'm not sure when that is. I can't find their schedule at the moment.
I'm trying to look at Hagen's Facebook. Usually he posts something about it. So
yeah, he's all over the Facebook posts. Hulk Hagen. Ridges, Whale Branch, and Bamberg on Thursday. There you go. Willie White. I love it. Everybody's tuning in.
No doubt. Getting lots of viewership tonight.
Yeah, everybody's tuning in. I love it. When we show up to talk about wrestling, people tune in. But that's about enough for tonight. So let's shout out our last round of sponsors, and then we'll name some hammers of the week and call it a night. We got the Lowco Booster Club. You can join for just $50 a month. And some of the members are Court Lifestyle Pros, Lowcountry natives Daniel and Debbie Court, selling the Lowco lifestyle on Hilton Head Island. Barefoot Floor Care of the Lowcountry, my guy Chris Odom. He can get your floors so clean, your feet will thank you. Prime IV Hydration and Wellness is now open in Belfair Town Village. Go get juiced up after the season, wrestlers. You don't want to get too hydrated right now. Rooted Living Wellness. My guy Ambrose Cole is the best chiropractor I know, but they got a whole bunch of great people over there. They'll get your body feeling right. Eagle Creations is one of the area's best kept secrets if you need promotional items, custom apparel, or custom gift baskets. Jay's Barbershop, the place to be in Ridgeland, whether you need a haircut or not. Great place for wrestling conversation because Jay's kid Jacob's going to be a hammer. 8th grader Thomas Hayward got a shot at skis the state title this year, but we'll see. He's been hanging out at Reverence, so that helps your cause. And then also Revive Rehab, pelvic floor physical therapy. So if you guys, having any problems down there with your functions, go see my friends Dr. Jen and Dr. Allie, and they'll get your pelvic floor rehabilitated at Revive Rehab. You're not smirking, are you, Dixon? But those are our Lowco Booster Club, and we appreciate their support to support grassroots local sports coverage, including the Lowco Grind presented by Reverence Wrestling Club. Hammers of the week. Rutherford, did you have a hammer stand out this week over there at Creek?
I mean, right now I would probably give it to my seniors. They 5 for 5 on pins or forfeits against John Paul II. So the seniors are just we've got a great group with Elmer, John, Legree, Leroy, and Gunner.
Yeah.
And 4 of the 5 are currently ranked in the state, with John sitting at like 9 or 10. He pops up on a little thing, so he's
Coker.
So little Coker's been wrestling well.
Yeah, I think he's a sleeper, dude. He gets better every time I see him. He's tough. He's really tough. Was there anybody who flipped the script on that one because you lost to him and then beat him? Was there somebody who?
We had Nate Najjar at 32 who got pinned and then pinned the guy, and then we had Christian Fess at 65 and Cooper Livingston. We bumped Gunner back up to 90 and let Cooper go in at 75, and he still got a pin. And then Fess actually pinned last week. He was up by 2 and took a bad shot and ended up on his back, and this time got a pin. So we had 3 guys really flip the script, and that's what kind of was the factoring the score as much as it was. So
yeah, that's huge. I mean, that always makes you so proud as a coach too, when a guy beats a guy that had just beaten him. Like the mental fortitude to be able to do that is, you're always like, it gives you a little extra juice.
Especially on senior night, to see the guys step up, it's always fun.
Yeah. Dixon, did you see any hammers this week? They're all in Georgia.
I saw a lot in Georgia, but I want to stay close to home. I guess I'll throw it out to Michaela Hinchy going up there, as a middle schooler wrestling against, basically adult women in many of those matches. So, I'm going to go with that one. It keeps me out of trouble because I don't have to pick a school, person, and I get to stay fair and out of the mix. But I'll pull Michaela out of the hat and throw her in as my hammer this week.
That's an excellent pick. You may end up on the show full time, making great choices like that. We could have a full time co-host, George Dixon. That'd be perfect. Hammers of the week. I got to shout out my guy Andrew Lawson, state runner up in middle school. Again, only 16 people in the whole state make it across all classifications in middle school. It's so hard to get in there, and he had a great run. Just really turned a corner the last month or so. He got beat in the Lowco finals by Santino from Ladies Island, who is really good too. But Andrew had always had his number, and he got beat there. And then lost to Spencer McCallum from River Edge the next week in like a scrimmage. We bumped him up, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, hey, maybe, I should listen about like having a game plan and stuff, and like not just go out and just do whatever, like have a plan for the match. And man, he started wrestling, like thinking his way through a match instead of just kind of free flowing it. And he just became unstoppable. Because when he dictates the match, he's just so tough to beat. And so he ran into a hammer in the finals, and he wasn't feeling quite right. He got kind of banged up in the semis, but really proud of the effort that he gave this year. And as we talk about a lot, there's no like magic serum. It's hard work, and he's at Reverence, several nights a week after middle school practice, putting in work and getting private lessons and things like that leading up to state. So that's why he is where he is. But great kid, great family, and really was a joy to coach him this year. And then also wanted to shout out Bo Gwynn. We shouted him out last week, I think, for his performance at Bobcat Duels, where he beat a couple of state runners up, I believe. And he got some love from Southeast Wrestling this week as a Southeast hammer. So good kid too. I saw him at the basketball game the other night and congratulated him in person. He was beaming. That kid's gotten so much tougher. Rutherford, he's had some battles with Tyus this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, they've I want to say both matches have been under a point or under 2 points. I mean, it's been
because at May River in the duel, it was like
I think it was 1
Bo was up 1-0 like the whole time, and then Tyus got a reversal right at the end.
Yeah.
And then they had another one at, I want to say a Shark, but it might have been a Lowco. It was one or the other.
I think it was actually at Bobcat. Maybe it was.
Oh well, they had one. They had one at either Lowco or
because I know he's wrestled. You know, that's one thing.
But it was another one that went right down to the wire. I actually thought Leroy should have got popped for stalling in that match, and Bo should have won. But just as an impartial observer in that match, but I think if George was calling it, stalling would have been a factor at the end of that match. Let's put it that way. That was one where he just didn't call it, and then did all of a sudden, like on the other guy. Like, what?
Yeah, and that's heavyweights is a tough one. I think heavyweights.
It is.
It's hard to call that because they might just be really big and tired.
That's one you got to take it a little different because they are heavyweights. But if you haven't done anything in the first minute and 15 seconds, you'll see me. I'll pop one of them.
Yeah.
I'll create an imbalance so that Green just got hit. Okay, so the imbalance hopefully causes Green to go, I got to get busy because I got stalling. But on the other side, hopefully it makes Red go, he's got a stalling, so I'm going to get after it.
Yeah,
right. But after about 20 seconds, if they still aren't doing anything, I'll hit Red and even it up, if they still aren't doing anything. But hopefully popping the one that you can usually one's doing a little less than the other one.
Right.
So you pop that one to create the imbalance. And that usually drives Ashley Powell a little batty because, well, what is the other one doing? Well, nothing either. But I'm trying to create an imbalance. I'm gonna let you guys get inside my head here as a referee for a minute.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm creating that imbalance to hopefully spur some action from one of them. So
you could always hit power with me. That's cool.
Yeah, and you've got it in the back of your head that like I've already like given this guy a marginal one, so this guy's sort of owed a marginal one when the time comes, right? Like,
right. And like I said, 20 seconds later, if they're still doing nothing,
right,
I'll ring the other guy up. I'm gonna even it back up, but I have to. That's why you don't hit a double stall because a double stall, it's still even. You haven't created any kind of imbalance or incentive for anybody to change their behavior. So hit one, and hopefully the other one, especially at heavyweight or 215, those guys, if you do that, sometimes you'll get a little more action out of them because of that imbalance.
Yeah, I saw Michigan Penn State had a double stall the other night, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, well, you didn't do anything, If I'm both wrestling, like, well, we're both good. Technical. So
double technical. Yeah. So, do you have a different standard for the second one than the first one when you're awarding a point?
Well, in that situation, I'm going to even it back up, because they really.
Right. No, I meant like
hitting a double stall.
You've hit the one guy once. Like, is the standard the same now for the other guy to get hit the first time? And the other guy to get hit the second time, or is there a higher standard for the second?
No, it's a higher standard after that.
That's where I am too. So
I'm trying to make, the coach always yell, you got to make him do something. No, I don't. I don't have to make them do anything. That's your job, coach. My job is that if they aren't doing anything, then I'll hit them. So it's not my job to make them, work. You got to make them work. No, I don't. You got to coach them to make them work. I got to penalize them or hit them if they aren't working. So, so I try to, again, I'll offset it, but, and you'll see that on a top bottom situation. I'll say, okay, guys, I need more from both.
Right.
And then I'll pop the bottom guy.
Yep.
And then if I don't have anything, now I've created that imbalance. If I don't get anything from either one of them, then I'll hit the top guy. Well, why don't I hit the top guy first? Well, because when I hit the top guy, I have to stop the action. I hit the bottom guy, that creates the imbalance again.
Yeah.
So hopefully the top guy will, he's got one on him now, so I'll get busy. Or the bottom guy, and a lot of times you'll see that bottom guy all of a sudden, oh God, I got to get going. And he gets up and actually, he gets out. So
you bang on the mat and show him that it's stalling, and he'll get moving real quick, and then as soon as he does,
Typically,
the top
right?
guy's like,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. Oh my God, I better get moving. And they do, and then they get out,
Yeah.
So, or if it's the guy who's balling up on bottom anyway, he's stalling. It's not having to create an imbalance. He's already stalling, so you hit him. He's either got to get up and get moving, which opens him up for the top guy to actually be able to do something, or he actually starts moving and scores a point or gets a reversal. So, hopefully that will spur them, and I've had coaches, oh man, I don't know about that stalling call. I said, well, remember, coach, as soon as I hit him for stalling, he actually got up and got his escape. So it might have been a good thing. So you're welcome. So
Well, you can submit your topic for next week's George Dixon referee corner at locosports@gmail.com. This was the stalling episode. We'll see what we get into next week. Maybe, near fall swipes. I don't know. Hit us in the comments with what you want to hear George tell us about next week.
Throw a topic out there. We'll make it work.
I think it's a really fun way to go, kind of inside baseball, so to speak, for the wrestling geeks, but also I think there's an educational element to it for the newcomers to the sport who maybe their kids are wrestling and it's the first time they're exposed to it, and they're sitting in the stands going, I don't know what's going on half the time. I just wait until they raise their hand at the end, because there's some of that out there, and there's no shame in it. So
the good thing is for me, having been there, and I know a lot of everybody, we did a match with Bluffton and McCracken, and the parents, I knew they didn't know anything. And there was a hiccup with some of the stuff that was going on. So we had a little more time to work with. So I actually had Tommy and Sophia Perez get out on the mat, and they did some moves. And, I told them, give me a takedown, give me a reversal. And so I would stop them after each one, explain to the crowd, this is a takedown because this is what a reversal is. Near fall. These are the criteria. These are the things we're looking for. And we went through that to help them understand, and then what the boundary is, what's inside the boundary, what's outside the boundary, what are we looking for? So we actually got to do that. And I had parents after the fact, I was leaving to go outside, and they walking along, and they said, we really appreciate that, because our kids involved with wrestling, we didn't know anything about the sport. So that little tutorial you gave was actually very helpful for us, because we didn't know.
I agree.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. All right. Well, fellas, thanks so much for coming along for the ride tonight. We managed to squeeze out an hour and 13 minutes of Lowco wrestling talk. Good stuff on the Lowco Grind, presented by Lowco Reverence Wrestling Club. Excuse me, not Lowco Wrestling Club. Although Lowcountry Wrestling Club, Rutherford, part of the OGs, baby. That was the precursor. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks so much to George Dixon and John Rutherford for stopping by. Thanks to our producer, Wes Kerr, from the green room. Appreciate you, man. And thanks to all of our sponsors who make this possible, especially the folks at Reverence Wrestling Club. That's going to do it for this episode of the Lowco Grind. We will be back, Wes and I, Monday night for the Lowco Sports Lowdown. And then Tuesday, we'll have the Lowco Hoops Report. We'll see you then. Until next time, go Lowco.